Our next contestant is Tony Lalo, the power of goal setting. Power of goal setting, Tony Lalo.
Thank you. The last few years, I've been studying about personal development. I've been reading different books, listening to audiobooks, and some of the similarities that I've come across on these different books is about goal setting, having a chief aim in life. And some of the books that I've read about Brian Tracy, he mentions that 5% of adults, less than 5% of adults, have a written down description of goals that they want to achieve in life. Less than 5%. In Napoleon Hill's book, The Laws of Success, he stresses having a chief aim in life. The essentials of having a chief aim in life. And if we don't have a chief aim in life, we don't set these goals, they say we're like a ship without a rudder, wandering through the waves and the currents of life, and we're eventually going to end up on the rocks. Well, back in 2008, my ship didn't have a rudder, and I ended up on the rocks. I'm going to use a different analogy. It was like a stinking bus was coming at me, and it ran me over. It was painful. Extremely painful. It actually backed up and peeled out on me again. It was ridiculous. But I remember that August morning, I was sitting at my desk in confusion. I was embarrassed. It was painful. It was more raw than that. It was nauseating. Fellow Toastmasters, I was going bankrupt. I was losing my house. I was losing my business. My wife and I, our relationship was going down a very troubled road. My children were struggling in school. Physically, I was overweight. I was 50 pounds overweight. I remember that day I felt this overwhelming pressure pushing down on me. I broke down in tears. I was at my desk and I couldn't stop crying. It was the worst experience I ever felt in my life. And I remember I finally dropped down to a knee. I started to pray to God. And I asked Him to help me through this tough time in my life. To help me be a better father for my kids, a better husband. I remember I felt this warm feeling coming over me. And I immediately got up. I started writing down these goals, the things I wanted to achieve in my life, the things I wanted to become. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father to my children. I want to be a better businessman. I want to be a professional speaker. I want to get rid of this ridiculous belly I'm packing around. And the first goal I started working on was my health, to get in better shape. And what I think motivated me the most is every time I had to tie my shoe, I had to hold my breath. You know, I'm 29 years old. This is ridiculous. I shouldn't hold my stinking breath when I got to tie my shoe. Are you kidding me? 2 days later, I find myself at McDonald's. I'm sitting there. I got a big double cheeseburger in my hand. Sunk my other hand, my supersized fries, and there's a big old milkshake staring at me. And I happen to look down, and my shoe's untied. I just got hit by the bus the other day. But I realized, I wrote down a goal that I wanted to get in better shape. I wanted to change things in my life. And I had that goal, and I realized I'm making a bad decision right here. So I started to learn from that. And I realized in other parts of my life I can learn by making better decisions. And as I started achieving these different goals, one of the goals that I achieved, or I'm seeing results from, is goal number 27. Goal number 27 is to help my daughter with her shyness. A few things you need to know about my daughter. We call her Sis. Our family calls her Sis. My wife, people at school. Sis is 6 years old, and she's in the 1st grade. And she's a lot like her dad. When I was a little boy, I was painfully shy. I don't want Sis to experience the same things, the failures I had in life because of my shyness. So anyways, these last few weeks, Sis has been helping me with my speeches in Toastmasters. I taught her how to use the video camera. She's pushing the button. Then she asked me one day, she's like, Daddy, why are you doing this? I said, well, Sis, someday Daddy is going to become a professional speaker. And I'm doing this because I can learn and become better and watch the things I need to improve on. Well, what I noticed these next couple days, Sis is hitting play on the camera. She's coming running around behind me. And as I'm walking the stage using my hand gestures, Sis is walking the stage doing the hand gestures right behind me. I didn't think much of it. But a few days later, she comes up and she's like, Daddy, all excited. She says, are you coming to my school tomorrow for my assembly? And I looked at her and I'm like, well, what's at school tomorrow? And she's like, well, my teacher's going to have me talk in front of the school. I'm, what? Because last Christmas, we couldn't even get Sis up on the stage in front of people. We had to drag her up there. She didn't want no part of it. So I was shocked that she was excited to actually talk in front of the school. So my wife and me get down to Sis's elementary school at 8:15 that Wednesday morning. There's Sis sitting in the corner with her classmates. My wife and me look at her and smile. Her face gets red, her hands over her eyes. My wife immediately looks at me. What do you think she's going to do? I looked at her. I said, she's going to do it this time. Sis's shining moment comes up. For the first time, I saw my daughter walk up to that podium. She looked nervous. But then she looked out at the audience, looked at her father, her mom, and all her peers. For the first time, Sis stepped out of her comfort zone and spoke in front of everybody. As a father, it immediately brought me back to that day, that August morning, when I was down on my knee, praying to help my family, to change the things in my life. And what I realized is when I did that, I didn't have the skills at the time to teach Sis how to come out of her comfort zone. Because over these past few years, I've been learning, developing, learning how to come out of my shell. And Sis has learned by watching me. So when we write down our goals and we want to achieve things, it's amazing what happens. It's amazing the power of goals when we write it down. Because we're constantly keeping it fresh in our mind what we want to achieve in life.